One of the harder ones would be one of our first cows we rescued. His name was India. He was at the San Diego Fair, which is like a county fair. A lot of people don't actually understand that the animals at the county fair all get sent to slaughter right after the fair ends.
Wow.
So that's why they're there. They're there to be showed and then auctioned off so they can be slaughtered right afterwards.
Wow.
So we were lucky enough to get him out of that. And 3 months later,
How did you get them out of that? Were they expecting like to be paid? Because at these auctions,
we did exchange money in that, which we don't do anymore. This was back when we didn't understand that the availability of being able to rescue animals is so great. So it was something that we set up when we first started, not understanding that we shouldn't be doing that. So we've definitely changed our policy since then.
And why shouldn't you be doing it real quick?
Because we're just contributing back to it. If you give a farmer money for an animal, you're just putting another animal in that same situation. You know, you are rescuing that animal's life, which is amazing, and a lot of rescues do that, but we personally feel like we're not helping in the cycle, we're just contributing to it,
and they're ultimately just doing it all for money to begin with. So if they get the money, they keep doing it.
Exactly. And you're also like convincing them that they're doing something good, and which we don't want to do. So we rescued India, and a few months later we were just kind of talking about how sad it is that he got taken away from his mom so early, because they only get to be at their mom's for a couple months. And we knew his mom had the same name as him through just like random circumstances. So we actually ended up cold calling farms in San Diego that we knew supplied this particular program, the 4-H FFA program with cows. And we actually ended up finding her. So we worked out a deal with that farmer. We were going to go up 2 days later to get her. And through conversations, we found out she actually had twins between her being separated from her first India and us finding her. So we went up and got her and the twins, brought them back, reunited her with her son, who she hadn't seen in like a year and a half. And they like instantly knew who each other were. We had a fence in between them because we didn't know how it was going to go or how she would react. And he was like pushing his head through the fence, like trying to get to his mom. Like it was so heartbreaking, but like so emotionally like amazing at the same time. Like Definitely. it was an incredible experience. And then she had already had those twins taken away. They were about to be distributed into the program. So she had just gotten back that morning. So like she ran over and was like, India, hey, and then was like, oh crap, my babies, and like had to go like stand in between us and the babies to make sure that we weren't going to take them away from her again.
Because it's happened to her.
Because it happened to her 8 times before. And then by the time that she came to us, she was pregnant again, which we didn't know until a few months later. And we knew it was a possibility, so we were watching and we found out she was pregnant again. So she actually had her 9th and last baby at Farm Animal Refuge. It's the only one she never got taken away from her. So we have a whole cow family, and that's the one who's feisty. She's a little spitfire for sure.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. She doesn't see us any differently. A lot of the animals that we have that can be, a little bit crankier, a little bit harder to handle or be around, are actually animals that have come to us when they're babies or she was born there. So they don't really actually see us any differently. We've never had to like force them that we're better than them or they need to be scared of us. So those are always the ones that end up being a little bit harder to handle.
Yeah. So back to the dairy industry now, because that's where you rescued them from.
They were actually going to be meat industry, but it's all
so
very
she was
similar.
just impregnated 8 times, not to be milked, but just to
sell the babies. Yeah, because they're still making a product. The product is actually just a child. So
that doesn't differ much from the dairy industry, though, where they're being impregnated multiple times.
It's just over and over and over.
Another thing people don't think is like, okay, cows always have these udders, but they're only filled with milk when they're pregnant.
Yeah.
So they forcibly impregnate these animals over and over again. So how many times are these dairy cows pregnant within their lifespan?
The average age of slaughter for a dairy animal is about 4 to 7 years old. An animal that isn't forced to have that many babies or be milked twice a day can live 15, 20 years depending on the animal, but they usually will either slow down production of milk because they're just being used and abused for so long, or their bodies will actually start breaking down at about 4 to 7 years old. So on the older end, they have their first baby is if they get pregnant on the first baby within the first year of life. Sometimes they will abort that baby because they try to get all the moms on the same cycle. And sometimes they'll have it depending on when they were born and when they got impregnated. And then they'll just have a baby every single year. So if you do continually milk them, they will continue to produce milk just like humans. If you stop breastfeeding at 6 months, you'll stop producing. But if you wait till 2 years, you will. But they also want babies because those are the ones that are potentially if they're a girl are going to make milk. And so, it ramps up their milk production because they stay pregnant, but they're also still pumping out babies to be put into the industry to replace all those, cows that they send to slaughter. So really about 4 to 7 babies.
Yeah. So they fully just see these animals as products and not living beings at all.
Yeah, I think anybody who makes money off of any product is going to see that as an item and not as someone.
Yeah. And